Hi everyone, this is a quick video to introduce you to sewing the fly on the shorts. So you'll need your fly shield, the facing and your zip. We're going to start with the facing piece and we're going to add this right sides together and sew 1 centimeter seam on the straight edge of the fly facing. I've already overlocked around the fly facing and I want to make sure that I'm starting at least 1 centimeter up from the bottom of the fly facing. So you can see here I've got a little bit of a leftover 1 centimeter at the end there. I'm now going to do an understitch on the fly facing, making sure that the seam's flat on the side that we're understitching on. You'll also need to prepare your fly shield, which has already been overlocked. So you can see here that I've added the understitching. I'm now going to grab my zip and I'm going to place the zip right side down, so right sides together. So if you're looking at the zip here, the zip would be upside down. I've placed that and I've lined that next to the fly shield, and I'm going to sew in the center of the zip tape on the right hand side here. So you can see here that I'm sewing straight down. You don't need to change to a zipper foot. You can just use your normal foot. This is not like an invisible zipper, so please don't get too confused with the invisible zipper. I'm now going to sew straight down the middle of this zip all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to stop just as I get to that metal stopper. You can open the zip and close the zip to make it easier to go down that zip there. So you can see here I've sewn, it's attached to the fly facing. I've sewn on the right hand side, so the left hand side's free. I'm now going to turn the whole fly facing over and sew in my J hook. So I'm going to sew from the top and around. You can kind of feel the overlocking. So you can feel the overlocking from the top side to enable you to sew in that J hook. You can also just use a pencil to draw in that section. And that might make it a little bit easier for you as well. Apologies, my hair's in the way, but you can sew the J hook. I'll show you in a moment when I pull it off the machine. Make sure that you do a back tack at the start and at the end, so you can see what you're doing. I'll record a better video in the future, but this is just a good quick one. So you can see here I've got my J shape, so I've sewn around here. You can draw in pencil if you find it hard to do the J shape, but what's really important is that you're not sewing the bottom of that zipper tape. So you want to leave the zipper tape free a little bit. So I've got my J hook now. Now I'm going to grab my other side of the short so that we can sandwich them together to create the fly front. So with my right hand side piece here, depending if you're doing women's wear, men's wear, or unisex. I'm doing the unisex way today. So I'm going to grab my right hand side and I'm going to pull back the fly facing. So we're not sewing the fly facing together. I'm then going to put right sides of the fabric together and do the exact same process again. So on the right hand side, I'm going to sew through the center of this zipping tape, starting at that metal stopper and working my way all the way to the top, making sure that I'm only sewing onto the other side of the short. I'm not sewing any of the facing. Make sure you do a back tack at the start and at the end. Now, once you open up, you should have successfully got your fly in. So you should have your fly looking like this. On the back, it looks like this. Now, there's a couple of different methods for doing this, but this is the easiest way I find. So I'm now going to use my fly shield. I'm going to place that over the top. So I'm kind of aligning with the other J shape. And I'm just going to sew this in just where we just sewed on the right-hand side, again, in the middle of the zipper tape. This is not too much dramatic. I guess the fly shield is really just there to shield everyone from your particular area of the body that you don't want to show off, just in case your fly comes undone. Now, sometimes with the fly shield, what I like to do is do a little bit of a bar tack onto the fly facing. So not onto the front of the shorts, but just so I can tack it on here so I can make sure that, that it doesn't flap around in the pants or the shorts, I should say. But this is also optional. There's many different ways of doing a fly, but this is just the fastest way I find to do it. But you can do it any other way you like. So once you've got it all in, like so, double check the zip's working, making sure the zip's hidden. What common mistakes are that people might not sew the zip correctly and you can still see the zip. The last step is to sew in the rest of the crotch seam. So here you can see I'm just going to sew in this rest of the J shape. It's a little bit hard to get all the way up to the fly, but you can do it. If you don't get all the way up, you'll be left with a little bit of a hole. So we want to avoid that where possible. So I'll sew all the way around till I get to the bottom of that fly. Try not to hit any metal parts or it will snap the needle. And that's how you put in the fly in a pair of pants.